All right, what's going on, everybody? We got another fun one today. We're going to be doing another Riftbound VOD review. This time we are doing one on Jibbs, already a member of the community. According to some of these tags that I'm seeing, it looks like he is maybe a part of the Riftlab website, which is sick. Big props up to him. This match in particular, I already reached out. This was not a tournament match. This was a practice match. Him and a buddy were practicing for the Bandle Blitz tournament, as you can see up here from his VOD. So I thought this one was pretty interesting. I haven't watched the match, of course, and I don't plan to for most of these reviews. But as I was scouring through trying to find some content, I saw this match of Yasuo versus Viktor. So, obviously, my video yesterday was a Kai'Sa mirror match, so I definitely wanted to do something different. There'll be plenty of time in the future for the more meta decks, right? A bunch of Master Yi mirror matches, a bunch of Kai'Sa mirror matches. Those things will continue, I'm sure, as there are more tournaments where we want to review the finals, right, and the winners. But I think it's definitely good to showcase some other champions as well and kind of see what they have to offer. So we will go ahead and get into this one. This is a Dreaming Tree mirror match for Battlefields. So go ahead and, as usual, pause. Make sure we know what all of the cards do. I believe that is the one where you draw a card the first time your units are targeted in the battlefield, right? Yep, perfect. So a little Dreaming Tree mirror match. Very nice thing about pulling this from the stream as opposed to our video from yesterday. Getting to see the hands is very nice. Really helps with a lot of the play decision and kind of where we want to be. All right, opponent leads on. It's going to be a little harder to see. Jibbs' board is actually so clean. I really like this layout, but I've got old man eyes, so I might have a difficult time managing which units the opponent has in play. We are looking for a... Which one is that one? That kind of looks like... So that is Mask of Foresight. When a friendly unit attacks or defends alone, give it +1 might. Very nice. Alright, back to it. Here we go. And Jibbs is student plus guy. Makes sense. That is what Viktor wants to be doing. Alright, so we send in the token and the student, claim both battlefields, take our 2 points. Thinking about how we want to spend the rest of our turn. Right off the rip, it doesn't look like we have a lot of good options. We have a bunch of expensive cards in our hand. I would definitely be tempted to just play our Viktor, yeah. It's a little... I understand where the hesitation is coming from Jibbs' point of view. You don't really want to set yourself back resources when you've got all these expensive, powerful cards in your hand. But it may just be too weak of a turn. Jibbs, of course, as we can see, did decide to not play the Viktor. Just sat on all of our untapped resources. Jibbs considering the Stupefy, it looks like. That's Sona, I believe. Let's make sure we understand what Sona does. Boom, boom. Alright. While I'm at a battlefield, ready for friendly runes at the end of your turn. Sick. Okay. So, if possible, that is a strong ability. I can definitely see you not wanting to give that up for free, but of course we don't have any other interactions, so it is going to get the enemy a point at that battlefield. We do buff our student by 1. It's good to remember. Opponent's still tanking over what they're going to do with their resources. And they settle on... Boom, boom. 3 cost. Not actually sure what that is. Oh, there we go. That is a Wielder of Water. While I'm attacking or defending alone, I have +2 might, so we're definitely staying on theme. So right off the rip, we can see, so the Wielder with the mask in play is going to be on 3 +3 might, which is very relevant. Definitely overstated when it's alone. Gonna go ahead and initiate. I can see, so it is a 5 might going in at our 3. I would be scared to do that as the opponent, I think. But looking at our hand, it's basically going to get the best outcome, right? I mean, getting a recall there is much better than a combat trick to ruin combat. Very aggressive line by our opponent that worked out. Up to 8 resources now. Definitely getting to the point where we finally have some options. I don't think we are interested in playing the Watcher without accelerating it. But a lot of our other plays aren't particularly good. Let's set up a nice little pause here. I want to make sure I understand. I know what our Viktor champion unit does. I want to make sure I understand what the spell we have next to the student does. Singularity deals 6 to each of up to 2 units. So that is definitely something we could be considering, but with those 4 untapped energy, I understand the hesitation as well. Death no, player top rune exhausted when I die. Gotcha, the scout. The scout. Alright, so it looks like we are going for singularity. And I don't know if this is going to work or not, but I do think that is a play you probably have to go for. It just feels so bad if there's one of the ways to counter it there, right? But we did not have a way to contest the board otherwise, so I think you kind of had to bite that bullet. Jibbs considering which of his 2-cost units to play, goes with the Poro, which is it's the most aggressive option, because we don't really have a spell that we're going to want to play preemptively for our student next turn. I think this play makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people would be enticed into playing the Scout, because you still want to ramp your resources. But I think this plays better. I think just being able to fight for the battlefields in these mid-turns ends up being very valuable. Can't quite see how many cards in hand the opponent has with this layout, but it looks like it's like 4 maybe. Just passes with all of those untapped resources. Wow, 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 wow. Doesn't even play the Yasuo. I think I would be pretty interested in just flooding the board here. Yes, this makes sense. This makes sense to me. So we're doing that instead of sitting on our recall or using Viktor ability. I think that makes sense. I would be a little inclined, I think, maybe to try and use our Viktor ability and just get maximum value. But if you can trigger the death knell on the scouts, that is probably better than a 1/1. And you certainly don't need to leave recall up because I don't think you care that much about recalling the Poro. That's the make a 3-might illusion unit, right? I'm pretty sure it is. Oh, Spite Mother, right? Yeah, alright. We're sending the scout in to claim a point. Up to 5 we go. Retreating Poro. This does make a decent bit of sense. If you're going to lose the unit, you want to get your resources out of the exchange. I wonder if leaving only one unit in each of the zones kind of telegraphs recall a little too much, but I don't think so. Just because we don't have a way to interact with the Yasuo anyways very well. The Yasuo would just kind of take over whichever battlefield it wanted from this spot. We probably just let this happen. No, I don't think we want to use our recall here. The only reason we would, right, is because we get to draw a card also from the Dreaming Tree battlefield ability. But I think the way Jibbs played it is better. And then just leaving. Oh, he is. Okay, so it looked like he was going to retreat to the battle. He does want to try and conquer it, though, or hold it, which I think makes sense. What is that? That must be a buff on the Yasuo, right? So the Yasuo is a 7. I think playing the Sigil here makes a lot of sense. We're probably playing Watcher here, I would think, right? Oh, we're just time warping. But we don't win, do we? Oh, I guess we win. Yeah, because we get the 7th point for retaining this turn. Yeah, so we probably do win, right? We play just Watcher, send everything at the Yasuo, and hope that that's enough. That should work. Opponents only got 5 untapped resources, and we're overshotting it by, let's see, we bring the Yasuo down to 4 might. So it's 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 17 going in. Yeah, I can't imagine there's any world where that goes wrong. Just send everything at the... Just send everything at the boy. He looks like he might try to do it one at a time. I think that is fine. I don't have all of the cards memorized yet. I don't know if there's a benefit to only sending a couple different attacks in one at a time versus just sending the full onslaught at one. I don't think there's like one ability that cancels an attack, all the attacks or anything, is there? I don't think so. Jibbs is definitely taking his time deciding how he wants to sequence it, though. Opponent does have 6 cards in hand, but I see what he's thinking, right? Like, if you send in 5, and they have a trick, then that's fine. Then you can just send in the Viktor. And if they have another trick, then the third trick, the walk. I mean, I I see what he's thinking, but I think it's functionally the same thing, right? I think it is. Yeah, it looks like he is just sending everything. There should be the 8th point, no? Let's see what the enemy Yasuo has here. Alright, that time warp play did look better than I was thinking. I was thinking we needed to wait one more turn right off the rip, but that's just because I had a slight misunderstanding on what was going on. Alright, very nice. You love to see it. Time warp is such a sweet card, man. Alright, let's see if I can fast forward a little bit here. Alright. Perfect. So, this is game 2. And we have Targon's Peak versus Obelisk of Power. Start of each player's beginning, that player channels 1 extra rune. Yep. Alright, and then Targon's Peak, just for a reminder for myself, is the when you conquer here, choose to ready them at the start of the turn. Perfect. Alright. So we're keeping the sigil, which makes sense, especially when we have Spite Mother in our hand as well. So we're going to start with 4 runes on our second turn. Now we're leading on another mask. The mask card seems kind of unimpressive to me. The fact that it's a gear and it sticks around, I definitely see that being relevant, but I think the might's just like not enough to justify the cost of not being able to put a unit into play on your first turn. I feel like it's a huge liability to be going first and not start the game with a unit. Yeah, very, very clean start. Very clean start. And then next turn we can hide as well. That sigil's gonna net us a lot of resources here. Opponent is playing Sona. We, of course, have to sacrifice our little illusion, so we do not get the point for holding. Yeah, I would be really tempted, I think, to play Viktor and hide. Yeah, but it looks like that's what he's going to do as well. I think this play makes a lot of sense. This is the play that I like as well. I think this is better than Poro. Like, so if you still have the ability to play Singularity next turn if you need to. Interesting. Very interesting decision. I wonder what the logic is behind not wanting to get the Viktor in play. Because it doesn't immediately look to me like you need to go up to 7 resources next turn. It almost makes me think he might just be playing around something. Opponent goes Zhonya's into attack with Sona. We're destroying our own thing. I think that makes sense. 2 cards is just infinite. I think that's just quite a bit better than trying to fight over the Sona here. Just let them have it and draw your extra cards. Second Sona, okay. They're going to get to ready their resources, right, because of the Sona ability. Stupefy feels like it's a pretty good draw. Probably, I mean, it feels so bad to have to do it into a bunch of open resources again, but again, I would be reasonably interested in at least considering the Singularity. I'm going to pause and read what that middle card in our hand is. Call the week, each player kills one of their units. Okay. Oh, enemy only has 3 cards in hand, so I think we're less incentivized to play around small ball stuff, and we are more incentivized to play around the big stuff. And basically, what I mean by that is, I understand with our opponent being low on resources, going all in on this Singularity play is pretty risky. So if we could find a play that is good against that, I definitely sympathize. None of our other plays do look good, though. Like, we could... Do we have enough to Viktor plus Cole? We do. Viktor plus Cole might be really good. Yeah, I think Viktor plus Cole here is really good because we just get the thing back maybe, and then we still get to sit on Stupefy. Or are we not gonna Cole? We decided to make Viktor token, which is better. Viktor token is better than sit on Stupefy like I was thinking, but he's actually gonna not play the Cole. Which I think makes sense. I mean, so that means he might be trying to set up Singularity plus Cole next turn to get whatever the final unit, presumably, that the enemy plays. Just because the Sonas are only 4, right? So they're not gigantic. Cole, he might be trying to bait out and get a monster unit with Cole. I could see that. I could totally see that. I guess I would just be, like, reasonably concerned. Pause there for a minute to just finish my train of thought before all this stuff. I would be reasonably concerned, I guess, that your opponent is never going to not have the resources untapped because of Sona's ability, right? So you're just always in a spot where if they have an answer to your Singularity, you're behind anyways. So that kind of leads me to believe you're just supposed to cast the cards sooner rather than later and not give your opponent a good chance to have an answer. Maybe he's thinking the Zonias is enough of an answer already that he just doesn't want to trade the Singularity for Sona plus Hourglass. I'm not sure. I think that's really interesting, though. I think that's very interesting. Generally speaking, as a rule, I'm going to pause it again. Generally speaking, as a rule of thumb, I kind of already hinted at this a second ago, but if you have a card that's very important to resolve, and in this case, I think it's like pretty clear your most important cards, or you're trying to set up for an eventual Time Warp, but that's still a couple turns away. And then I think it's the Singularity and this Cole, right? They seem like the most important cards in our hand at the moment. If you don't have a way to protect your most important cards, then generally speaking, it's better to play them earlier rather than later. Because the later you play them, you just give your opponent more time to have answers to them, right? In this case, counter spells, pump spells, etc. So that, but again, I'm going to err on the side of what Jibbs goes with here. So I'm sure he's playing around a particular card and thinks his opponent could just have it. Or it might just be that he doesn't think he wants to trade Singularity for the Hourglass, which is totally reasonable also. A second Hourglass is tough. Second Hourglass is tough. Our opponent is never going to be without ready resources. But they're low on cards in hand, right? So I could totally see... I mean, untapping your resources doesn't matter if you don't have spells to play, right? So this is, it's scary, but it isn't necessarily a problem. What did we draw? We drew the Yordle. That unit has been incredibly impressive in games that I've watched. 2 might for 3 costs that also draws you a card, and his tank. I've seen that tank mechanic on that card end up doing some filthy things. I think on our game yesterday that we watched, Prez got to trade effectively his Yordle there for a Watcher, and it was really, really tempo positive, completely game breaking. Alright, so we're starting the turn, trying to get a trade on Sona. We're trying to send in our 1/1 token and smoke screening it down. This would proc Zonia's if it were to work. Opponent should probably be pretty interested in holding, I would think. So if they have a small trick to play, I think that would make sense. Give a unit shield 3 and tank. Interesting. Okay. So back to 4. I don't think we're fighting over that. I think that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, unless I'm missing something, you don't have to go for Singularity here, but I would still be very tempted to. The double Zonias puts a huge damper in the plan for sure. And yeah, Jibbs is just going to go with creatures. It makes sense. It really does. So now do we commit another 2-drop and make another Viktor token, or do we sit on Stupefy? I don't think we have much reason to sit on Stupefy if we're not going to be trying to go into combat, right? We're just main phasing the Stupefy to draw a card. Very interesting. That implies to me that Jibbs feels like he's in a pretty desperate spot. Oh, I wonder if... Oh, he maybe didn't even have to play that block card, right? I think that's maybe why they're highlighting them, talking about him. It should have already been +1 might from... Interesting. Good to know, good to know. Looks like an illegal play was potentially made. Or, not an illegal play, an unnecessary play, as it were. But this would still be enough in theory, so we're sending in the Viktor, which I think makes sense. We really do want to start fighting for some of these battlefields and interacting with these Zonias, because we can't just let the Zonias sit and play the entire game. We'll lose for sure. Got to start trying to make some headway and push through with our resources, because we're up 1,000,000 cards. We are up an actual 1,000,000 cards. Alright, what card did we just play? Ride the wind. Move a friendly unit and ready it. Move a friendly unit and ready it, right? Yeah, I'm looking at the right card, I think. Okay. So we moved this Sona here, and this Zonia's went back, is what it looked like. Interesting. Jibbs still playing pretty conservative with this Cole. He's really trying to get something big out of it. Opponent's only down to 1 card in hand, though. I think our spot is excellent. We've really just ground them out with all of these extra tokens and card draw tricks that we've had. Yeah, I don't know about this mask card. This mask card It's 2 games in a row the opponent started the game with it, and I can't help but wonder if just a random unit would have been better to just kind of initiate some early tempo. Played the Poro instead of the Student. I think that just makes sense again. It just attacks for more without us having to initiate any of the action at the beginning. If we knew for sure that we were going to play Time Warp next turn, then maybe playing Student is better, but I don't think we're going to play Time Warp next turn. I think we're going to try and wait and save that as a win condition. We have plenty of ways to spend our resources still. Finally sending out the Yasuo. Enemy gets to ready their resources because of one of their Sonas, or both of them, as it were. Interesting. Our hand is still not that great from Jibbs' point of view. I mean, we just have a million 2-drops in this Time Warp that we're definitely not playing this turn, but flooding the board is still totally fine. Yeah. Finally time to pull the trigger on Cole. I think that makes sense. We've got the Scout, right? So we have a great thing to sacrifice now. Sacrificing the Viktor tokens is, like, totally good value. But getting the resource back out of this, I think, is really excellent. And now we're finally pushing on the Singularity, which I like. And we, if it wasn't clear, very good sequencing by Jibbs. So he made sure to use the thing that only removed one unit first, so that the Hourglass was out of the way, so he could guarantee kill one of the units that he wanted, which in this case was the Yasuo, right? If you do it the other way around, and you play the Singularity first, and you target Yasuo Sona, when Yasuo is the unit you care about, then they Zhonya's the Yasuo, right? And then you can sack the other Sona to your Cole. So really good sequencing by Jibbs on the assumption that the Yasuo is the unit he cares about, and it for sure is, right? Because the Sona, at this point, we don't care about our opponent having their resources readied. They've only got 2 cards in hand. They probably don't even have anything to do with the extra resources. And yeah, Jibbs is just trying to set up. I mean, we just win with Time Warp if our opponent doesn't have a way to remove this Poro. So the pressure is on. I didn't even realize. Yeah, they just played another Mask. Yeah, that Mask card has been very unimpressive to me. I wonder if that's a popular card people are playing, or that people think is strong. Interesting. Very interesting. Alright, so if I recall correctly from the skimming that I was doing, this is 2-0 for Jibbs on the Viktor. But I do think that they ended up playing a third game because it was practice. So we're definitely going to watch that as well. And this time we have... Oh, I do not recognize either one of those battlefields. Back alley bar. When a unit moves from here, give it 1 might. Okay. When it moves from here, give it 1 might. So that works well with ganking, but that does not work very well with Yasuo's ability, if I'm understanding correctly. Interesting. And then we've got Arena's Greatest. Each player's first beginning phase, that player gains a victory point. Okay, so this is just the opposite of not Targon's. So this basically is starting life totals are 7 now instead of 9, effectively from the other one. Very nice. All right, perfect. This game looks so fun, man. I'm so excited to get my hands on some cards myself. Have you guys secured a lot of product? It's going to be a madhouse, I assume, right? I I've only got 2 boxes guaranteed coming. And I have some connects that hopefully I can get a few more. But I'm trying to get a lot. I'm very excited. Alright. Starting with Sigil again. Very nice. I feel like getting to start with a... I keep calling them sigils. They're seals. Getting to start with a seal seems so powerful. Like, as long as you have ways to recoup, like, the card in hand value, you get so much resource advantage, I feel like. You just get to play such powerful cards. Not necessarily ahead of curve, but without the drawback. It's so nice. Starting off early Poro. It's the Water Watcher, right? I remember that card from the first game. So it's a 4 might if it attacks on its own. We're just playing the Spite Mother, yes? I think that makes sense. Go ahead, just take our point, right? So we go up to 3 points, yes? Yeah. Perfect. Makes sense to me. We're going to lose our Poro here without any spells, but it is what it is. I don't think that's like a gigantic problem. Yeah, see, like right off the rip, I feel like the Yasuo, the enemy, aren't they just immediately in a better spot than they've been any of these other games because they started the game with a unit? Yeah, follow up with Zhonya's. Our play next turn doesn't immediately look great. I don't recognize that unit. Let's scope her on out. Harness Dragon. That's the Aurora card, right? Yep, that card is beefy. It's a beefy boy. All right. So yeah, we do not really have a setup play next turn that looks good. We're still pretty far away from everything. I guess we could just play... Yeah. I think this makes sense. We want to save our resources, right? There's no way we're willing to sack a resource. Oh, so he's considering the Viktor. See, I think I would just Poro here. All right. I mean, I defer to Jibbs. I would be so tempted to just Poro here, though. Yeah, because then now our play next turn is just so bad, no? It's just so scuffed. It is a stronger play this turn, though. I respect that. It looks like he's still tanking over if he wants to reinforce with the token or not. I think reinforcing makes sense. Like, you want to be able to fight, like... So, I was just going to say, if you didn't reinforce, then the Yasuo could just move the Watcher and have an easy fight against the Spite Mother. So, I think you have to reinforce. I think reinforcing makes a ton of sense. Oh! We missed the battlefield ability. Crazy! It gets +1 for moving from the battlefield because of, so it does synergize with the Yasuo ability. It just has to, you have to hold. If you hold, then you get to move it back to base with Yasuo and then attack the other battlefield. And now it's 5 because of its ability. Very nice. Interesting. I wonder if he considered killing the Watcher and letting the enemy draw 2 cards. I wouldn't have either. You never really want to use that card for that effect, I don't think. But it is somewhat interesting. Now we wish that we definitely had the token on the battlefield, for sure. Or in our base, rather. Stupefy and Smokescreen both seem like they have some potential value here. our play this turn isn't that bad. We can play double 2-drop, and sit on some spells. Oh, I guess we're probably going to want to use one resource for Viktor to make a token. So we probably aren't sitting on Smokescreen. We're probably just sitting on Stupefy. With our opponent only having 2 resources, I would be pretty tempted to send in the Viktor on the left battlefield. It's certainly not perfect, and you're putting it in pretty big danger. You might just want to keep it in his base to keep accruing 1/1s. I kind of respect that line too. A lot of decision points. This Viktor deck is really interesting to me. I really like the bobbing and weaving of how well you can spend your resources. It looks like you can get maximum value out of your resources pretty much every turn if you so choose. So yeah, I don't mind this play at all. I think this makes a lot of sense. We were going to have the one extra resource anyways, and it didn't look like Stupefy was going to be particularly good holding it for combat for our opponent's turn. So just drawing the card first and getting some information I think makes a lot of sense. That brings us up to, it should be 6 victory points, no? Or, oh, it wasn't. He was just waiting. Draw a card and channel a rune exhausted. Yeah, 6. Okay. Looks like the enemy might be trying to set up something pretty big. We're pretty far ahead on board right now, though. And then do we play... Do we sit on Smokescreen or do we play the Scout? I would be really tempted to sit on Smokescreen, but not playing your unit feels bad too. Yeah, I would be very tempted to just use Viktor ability. We didn't, though. We wanted to sit on all of our resources. This, of course, makes sense. We're just trying to draw our extra cards. Oh, wait, is he targeting the Water Watcher? It kind of looked like that's what he... There's no way, right? Wow. Wow, he's going for the win. So his logic is... he's going to smoke screen the other one, but this doesn't work because of Yasuo ability, right? Or am I missing something? I think this doesn't work. Oh, I guess it does work. Wait, so you can't smoke screen and play Harness Dragon next turn. That's one of the problems going on here. Very interesting. So we're not smoke screening, presumably because we want to Harness Dragon next turn. Move there. So we have to smoke screen this. I think this might still work out, though. If our opponent doesn't have another trick here, we can still play our big blue boy next turn and maybe win the game with that. We realistically only need to hold one of these bases. So I think I like this line. Admittedly, I don't think I would have done it myself, but I think Jibbs is correct to go for it. Our opponent just has so many resources and cards in hand. We definitely got outcarded this game. The green Stupefy, I can never remember that card. On Guard, right? On Guard. I mean, opponent still has to do something relevant, or we can win the game. But you can definitely see how it's starting to fall apart a little bit. We do not just win, right? Yeah, we do not win this turn. We do get to go to 7, but we can't stop the opponent from going. Yeah, I feel like we for sure lose this game, right? We can't win. Oh, we have 8. We can't. I didn't think we could accelerate. So yeah, we do. We just do win because the opponent's tapped out then. It looks like they're maybe talking about it now. I wonder if I'm missing something. Oh, wait, no. Yeah, we don't have 8 resources. We can't. We couldn't accelerate it. That's what. All right. Oh, it looks like they're just talking about gameplay and stuff. My understanding is I think Jibbs did actually lose this game. Yeah, I think Jibbs lost this game. Really interesting. Really interesting session. This was... Go ahead and pause there. That's a good stopping point because I do think I'll let it play out while I'm yapping. But that was a really good 3-game set. Jibbs was right. That was a good set of games. So watching the Kaiser games were interesting because even though the game is obviously very difficult and there's a lot of decisions to be made, I felt like the way that the Kaiser matchup that we watched yesterday was able to spin their mana, it was like pretty linear, right? Like you kind of always knew for the most part which the best card that you wanted to play was, right? And a lot of the skill came from Prismat sequencing and kind of like the way that he wanted to generate his attacks, the way he wanted to control his resources, like when did he want to send in with the Kaisa, when did he want to retreat Kaisa. But with the Viktor deck, there's so much, I think, of a point of tension on how many of the extra 1/1s you're getting, extra robots you're getting to make over the course of the game. And that really leads you to a lot of different interesting ways to spend your resources. I wonder, I might go back and watch this and listen to some of their commentary, because I wonder if Jibbs was beating himself up for kind of how aggressively he was recycling some of those resources. I feel like, I don't exactly know where the turning point would have been, but I feel like there were a couple turns where we played the Viktor, and maybe we committed ourselves to that line where we had to play the smoke screen that one turn because we were going for the win. And I wonder if there's like a window where we could have maybe not played one of those to ensure that we hit some of our larger units. And I'm sure that's what they're talking about right now, right? These games, I agree, were very interesting. All right, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out and going along that ride with us. If you enjoyed it, same as usual, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. I'll take all the criticism and feedback. And then definitely give Jibbs a follow as well. I think this content was great. And if you are interested in probably it being at a much faster pace, or if you already have all the cards memorized right and you're looking for kind of like more fluid gameplay, definitely somebody you want to keep your eye on for sure. And as you can see from their content, they've got guides available as well. So definitely someone you should be paying attention to. And yeah, that's going to do it for me, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good one. Peace.